go ahead and get this thing started. Today we're going to be talking about preparing for the recession. My name's Justin Weatherby. I'm part of the team over here at BuildOps. My background is in construction. I've been a field superintendent, project manager, estimator, but about 10 years ago, I made that jump from construction into construction software and been helping folks like yourselves, solve some of their problems with, introducing new technologies into their business. With that said, I'm joined today with Woody Woodall. Woody is an industry expert. Woody, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you for a quick introduction.
Thanks, Justin. My name is Woody Woodall. I've been in the industry for 47 plus years. Probably have held every position in a service company that you can have. Been lucky enough to work with some great people and around some great people. The best and the brightest in the industry, actually, in my opinion. And I've learned a lot from all of them, and I've learned things that we should be doing and things we shouldn't be doing. We've gone through a couple of economic downturns during my term working full-time. And so we're here to share with you some of our thoughts on preparing for a potential recession that everybody seems to be nervous about. So that's pretty much it. Justin, we ready to go?
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it, get started, and kind of as Woody and I go through the presentation today, really the main point is, don't be scared, just be prepared, because usually in times like this, the cream rises to the top, and we want to make sure that we're pointing out and showing you guys way that you can maximize efficiency and really shine as we kind of come into this slowdown. And as we jump into it today, we'll start off with a presentation. We'll walk through a couple slides here. We're not going to bore you to death with slides, but Woody has some great points that he wants to go through, and something that both of us feel really passionate about. And once we make it through the slides, we'll jump into the product as well and show you guys how we can solve some of those problems. Woody, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you.
Thanks. So we all know that things have been getting tougher as far as the economy is concerned. There's a lot of concern about what the future is going to bring and what's going to happen. It's caused a lot of us to have a bit of anxiety, sort of waiting to see what's going to happen. And our suggestion to all of you is let's not wait until this thing lands on our doorstep. Let's go ahead and take some steps proactively right now to be able to help ourselves to be in a good position for ourselves and also for our all of the people that work for us and all of the people that work with us. So it's important to be able to take a very proactive approach to whatever's coming up as far as the economy is concerned. A lot of people are saying the recession could hit as early as early 2023. Don't know. None of us know. But the fact of the matter is we do know that there are some indicators out there that should make us concerned. Our industry we need to drive efficiencies. We need to get creative. We need to focus on what's going to happen out there. And it's funny, those of us that have gone through this type of thing before, we found that we come out on the other end stronger than we were before, more focused than we were before, and a better company and a better team than we were before. So, there's two ways to look at this. We can sit back and wait for this thing to come to our doorstep, punch us in the mouth and keep on going, or we can take some steps to focus on how we're going to better take care of our business in the tough market. How are we going to focus on taking care of our clients in that tough market? And how are we going to better understand what our clients' concerns are, because they're going through this same thing that we are. So we have to be very proactive, very focused on our clients and how we're going to be able to help them through all of this as well. So a big part of this is how can we do an analysis of what our margins look like currently. And by doing that, we'll be able to better understand what's working well, what what market sectors are working well for us, what type of work is working well for us, and how can we better become prepared for the future and what's going to happen with that. Now, this is the good news. By taking the time to really look at our margins and how we're deriving our margins, we're going to be set not just through this economy, but past the economy. And we're going to be able to do things a lot better, a lot faster. We'll be able to make decisions quickly, and we'll be able to know where we stand as far as our competition is concerned and how we can better overcome the challenges that our competition might lay at our doorstep.
Yeah, and Woody, what I'm hearing from a lot of our customers is that, they're taking a look within their company to understand, what type of work they perform really well on, because, as we see this slowdown starting to come our way, we need to bring that in, take a look within ourselves, and then also look outside on how we can, better serve our customers. And the best way we can do that is by focusing on the businesses, that make us the most efficient, and then really drive home that value to our customers. So really resonate what you said from what I'm hearing out there today as well.
Absolutely, Justin. The fact of the matter is, good times, bad times, and everything in between, we should be always aware of what's working for us and what's not. But with some challenges looming in the future, we really need to do a deep dive into what's working for us and what's not. Who are the customers with the most quoted work? Who are the people that are always calling us and always depending on us? We need to make sure that we take care of those clients and make sure that they're resting easy, knowing that we're going to take care of them through the tough times and what's going to happen. Who are the customers with the highest acceptance rates of our quotes? And that's a big part of it. How are we quoting that work? Is there a sense of urgency with the entire team as far as getting those quotes out, getting the work back into our house, and then getting the work taken care of? Who are the most profitable customers in both repairs and maintenance? And it's not just the clients, but what type of work are we most profitable with? And we'll get into that in a little bit. And what's the most profitable markets out there? And not just markets, but types of work. So in other words, if you're a control contractor and you're doing a heck of a lot of control work, are you actually profitable at that control work? Or are you stronger at heavy mechanical, like centrifugals and large boilers and things like that? Or is mission critical your bailiwick? Whatever it may be and whatever you're successful at, you need to accentuate that and really get that down to a fine science so that all your team, everybody in the office, everybody in the field, sales, accounting, everyone is on the same page as far as how we're going to get this done and how we're going to get it done profitably moving forward. Once we're able to prioritize on those types of things, we can see a clear path of what's working and what's not. And the things that aren't working, that's when we step up and do what we need to do to either get better in those types of work or that type of market, or make the decision that maybe it's not for us. Maybe we have to focus on what makes things work for us, what moves the needle. KPIs, I know all of us are using KPIs nowadays, key performance indicators. And now is the time, with the entire team, with input from everyone, now is the time when you really look at those KPIs and really start to focus on creating those key performance indicators that will quickly show for you what's working, what's not working, what we have to do to make things better. Are we hitting our goals, and are we hitting them on a regular basis? It's a huge challenge for all of us to be able to keep all of those KPIs in check and what's going on. But this is the biggest challenge. How are we going to be able to monitor those KPIs, measure those KPIs, and actually see how we're doing? Justin, on a regular basis, BuildOps helps people on a regular basis monitor, measure those KPIs, make sure that our clients are hitting those things on a regular basis, and doing what they have promised their clients that they're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, during our implementation process, we gather requirements from our customers around their KPI reporting that they're looking for. Now, we'll get into it in a little bit more detail, but basically, BuildOps has a business analytics tool sitting on top of its data. So when you're talking about measuring key KPIs, you've talked about quoted work and margin, understanding who your best customers are. I'm cheating here because I know what the next slide looks like, but you're going to talk a little bit about labor and optimizing your labor. Who are your most profitable technicians and what are the metrics that go into those? So,
Right.
definitely giving that insight to our customers is really helpful. And not only can they go into the product to view that information, we can also set up automated reports that are sent out at a particular cadence to a certain group within the company. So the executives might want some numbers once a week. Sales might need to know, how they're doing on their business, and they might want that every Monday, at 7 a.m. That type of not just the reporting, but the automation of that reporting, I've seen bring a lot of value to our customers. So thanks for pointing that out, Woody.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, a big part of this is taking that first step and really moving forward to make sure that you're ready for this potential challenge. The first step is accurate reporting, and if we don't have some sort of system like BuildOps, then we have to do everything by hand. Now, I've done it for years that way, and it's certainly a challenge to keep all of that data in one place and keep it updated. If you've got something like a BuildOps or if you have BuildOps, now you've got something that will help you move forward. Now you've got something that will make your life a heck of a lot easier as a manager or whatever part of the business you work with, that's for sure. So let's talk just a minute about labor, because of course our labor partners are a huge part of what we do. They impact our margin as much as anyone because we need to give them the tools and the training and the ability to be able to get things knocked out in a timely fashion. But it's not just doing the work that we're asking our labor friends to do, all of our labor teammates to do. We're asking them to actually take some time and look at the customer site and understand what their needs are now and what they're going to be moving forward. And once we've identified that, our labor guys, all of our techs need to bring that information to the client, but also back to the office again, so that everybody is aware that there are challenges in this particular building or this particular machine room. A big piece of this puzzle is tracking the efficiencies of our field and how we're doing things, and that will help us increase those efficiencies. And through all of the entire team, we'll be able to become better and better. We can track things like the reps with the highest rate of quoted and accepted work, techs with the fastest job completions, techs with the highest number of callbacks. And this is not to beat somebody up with by any means. The purpose of analyzing and understanding this is to help overcome those challenges, not just for the company, but for the individuals that are doing those things. A big piece of it too is, the guys in the field, in many cases, turn potential new work over to the office, and for one reason or another, it falls down that black hole and it just disappears. You can create some KPIs and hold your office and team accountable as a team to be able to get that stuff turned around in a timely fashion and get acceptance taken care of in a timely fashion. A big part of anything we do is trying to help everyone become the very best they can be. And we can't do that if we don't know what their challenges are and what their shortcomings might be. And so when we've identified those shortcomings with individuals in the field or the office or sales or accounting or whatever it might be, now we can actually do some work. Now we can actually help people become better and stronger and more focused and better teammates moving forward.
Yeah.
Managing material. Go ahead,
Oh,
Justin. I'm sorry.
sorry. When we're talking about labor, Woody, it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I know you hear this just as often as I do. It's so hard to, get good technicians, and then also to retain those technicians as well.
Yeah.
So, a lot of folks I see putting in some sort of, compensation package for those high performing technicians, because once you got them and once you've identified who they are, you want to make sure you retain them. Now, the sort of recession comes into play, and recession sounds like such a dirty word. It's nothing to be scared about. I mean, at its core, it's just a reduction of GDP, right? Meaning people are spending a little less money. Now, the economy as a whole, even if they're spending a little less money than last year, the bottom isn't going to fall out of this thing. This is nothing like what we saw back in 2008, but we want to be prepared. And what one good that does come from these type of pullbacks is more technicians end up being available. Now, is that number enough really to fill the entirety? No, but also, during, the next 12, to 18 months, keep your eyes open for those good technicians at other shops that might not be comfortable in their position because, of things that are happening out there. And, make sure that you're bringing on and you're ready and equipped to bring on those quality technicians, because as this thing starts ramping up again, you're going to need them more than ever, because as we see this every time we go through this cycle, relatively small slowdown followed by a nice long growth period. And using this as an opportunity to set yourself up for that next growth period, I think is really valuable.
That's a great point, Justin. And to what you were talking about, the more comfortable we make it for our folks in the field, supporting them, giving them training, helping them with any of the new processes and procedures, have some sort of system available that they can easily close out a job, open up a job, look at history, stuff like that. All of those things are important to our guys in the field. And we need to make, as you stated, Justin, great mechanics don't grow on trees, and we have to take care of those folks. A big challenge too, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be material management, getting equipment, supply chain issues, all of those things. Quick story, one of our clients told us that copper fluctuations is so wild and so quick that they've gotten to the point where they've put a limit on how old their quotes can be. They've got a 24-hour acceptance caveat on their quotes. That I think would be awfully hard to do. That all being said, some sort of caveat in your verbiage that says, "Hey, listen, because of the fluctuation in material, this price, we can only hold this price for 48 hours," whatever that number might be, because of those major fluctuations. Why? Well, if there's a major fluctuation, if you've got a quote out there that's been out there for 30 days, and in 30 days, we all know in this economy, things can change tremendously. And so when they do change tremendously like that, it impacts us. Okay, at the end of the day. So we need to make sure that our clients understand and are fair about how we approach those types of things. But we don't know that if we don't have the information readily available for us, if we're not able to track that kind of pricing and that kind of income and all of those types of things. So one of the huge parts that we have to do is make sure that we drive a sense of urgency for our entire team, so that once those quotes are out there, we just don't let them sit. We do a regular follow-up on them. And if the prices of material or equipment or whatever it may be are increasing, we need to make sure that our client knows that this is coming up down the road. Hey, we're not trying to hold a gun to your head, but in the next 2 weeks, copper's going to go up exponentially. we're going to have to do something. We have to be able to communicate with our clients on a regular basis. We can improve and set up KPIs to be able to measure that turnaround and mobilization rate on all of that type of work, and sort of track where we are as far as material is concerned and how that's affecting our margins when we quote. So we all know cash is king. 6% of business owners say that cash flow is a problem, and we know that that's a huge issue with everyone. The faster we can get invoices out means that we can decrease the amount of time it takes us to be able to get that cash back in. We need to know what the average turnaround is on our invoices. We need to make sure that if we exceed a certain limit, we have reached out to the client to find out if there's an issue or there's a challenge that they want to come back to us with. During tough times, monitoring cash flow is huge, and we can do that, but we have to have the information. We have to be able to access that information on a regular basis, and we have to be able to overcome those challenges when they come about, and not just be aggressive about it, but also be understanding, because many cases our clients are going through these types of issues as well. So we have to come to an understanding and make sure that everyone's on the same page as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, Woody, what some of my clients have been relaying to me that, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised about, but maybe I'm surprised on how often I hear it. Our customers are requesting that we get these invoices out to them as soon as possible. I'm sure that they have, budgetary concerns, and some of the folks that I talked to that were transitioning basically from their old paper processes onto build ops are, really taking quite a long time. We're talking 30, 60 days to get out an invoice to their customer, which now then starts, usually our customers have some sort of terms on the commercial side, they're, net 15 or net 30 or net 60, so before that timeline even starts, we're already delaying that, getting it out to them. So, it's not only, for our cash flow, but it's also, serving the customer better by being able to turn this back over to them in a timely manner.
Justin, it's funny you mentioned that. I had a customer one time, for one reason or another, this was back in the old days when we were doing everything with pen and paper, and we were having a hard time working their invoices up and getting them out to them on a regular basis. He finally told us, he says, if you're any more than 30 days on an invoice, and he slowly moved that up to 2 weeks, but if you're any more than 30 days on an invoice getting it out, you know what, we're going to have a hard time getting you paid, because, now you're working into another month's budget. Now you're affecting me as the manager of this division, because they're blaming me for not getting these invoices processed and taken care of in a regular basis. So you're right. Our customers want to get us paid as quickly as possible, especially if we're doing a great job for them. And I'm sure most of us are doing that. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So, don't neglect the service agreements. Let's face it. We all know that planned maintenance is the rock bed of most service organizations. Everybody's going to need it one way or another in some style, whether it's just a cursive drive-by to take a look and make sure everything is working well, or maybe it's because if we're in a tough time, they want to go with a break fix type thing. Whatever it is, we have to make sure that we're focused in on those customer service issues. We need to make sure that our people are proactive and act as trusted partners for our clients on everything. And that doesn't mean just working on their chillers and boilers or computer room units, whatever it might be. It's about supporting them in whatever we can do to help them become a more efficient company as we're moving forward. One of the things we should be doing on a regular basis is having an annual meeting with our contract customers. And we should be reviewing everything we did in their building, all of the maintenances that we did and all of the repairs that we did, and talk about challenges down the road. For example, if you've got a customer that might have 10 rooftop units, and you sit down with the client and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we did all 4 of our planned maintenances. And oh, by the way, we had 7 service calls while we were working with you this past year. And 4 of those service calls were with the same piece of equipment. And by the way, that piece of equipment is about 2 years from being ready to be replaced. It's past this useful use on the system, and by doing that, now all of a sudden we're working with our clients on budgets. We're helping them mitigate unscheduled downtime, and we're helping them move forward so that they can plan and budget for equipment replacement and all of those types of things. By building these relationships, we foster that loyalty that we're looking for. And that's an important part of what we do every single day as far as our clients are concerned. So that customer service, even though times might be hard, don't scrimp on customer service. Make sure that you focus on helping everybody in your building to be customer service agents and focused on, providing spectacular customer service from the beginning to the end. There's tools out there that we use every day as far as when we're lifting heavy pieces of pipe or pieces of equipment or anything like that. Just like that, there are tools that can help us move forward in what we're doing on a regular basis as far as managing the KPIs, making sure that our margins are where they should be, tracking material, tracking work that is out there and the customers want us to do. We can do that manually, and we've done it manually for years and years, ladies and gentlemen. But the better news is there's tools and technology out there that will make it so much easier for you. There have been cases made in many situations. The return on investment on a piece of software that will help you do things smarter, quicker, faster, better is invaluable. And if you sit down and do that case study with your company, just if you were able to increase the time that you invoice, instead of it being a week to 5 days, or 2 weeks to 1 week, or whatever it might be, by increasing those little incremental steps, it's amazing how much money you can make, additional money you can make, and how much you can save. And on top of that, it helps create your team as far as everybody knowing what everybody's job is and what we're trying to do. Justin, are you going to share with us some cool things that BuildOps does, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said, Woody. And we'll kind of jump right into it. And, it's actually a little concerning to me how often I go and I'm speaking, with these contractors, and I ask them about reporting and these different KPIs and, are you able to pull those today? And a lot of the times the answer is no. And so to your point, to make these incremental improvements, we need something measurable to come back to us. And, we'll kind of talk about that and a couple other things over here on the BuildOps side. Just a quick reminder, everybody, if you've got any questions for Woody or anything that he had presented so far, usually at the bottom of your screen in the Zoom controls, there's a spot for chat. There's a spot for Q&A. Go ahead and, whether they're questions on the product as I go through that or questions on anything Woody has covered, go ahead and drop those in there. We'll do our best to answer those live here, right? That's not a recording. We're here with you live. And, if there is some questions we're not able to get to, we'll follow up with you all via email. So, Woody, are you guys able to see my screen? Okay, perfect, perfect. So let's go ahead and jump in. I think a good way to explain the software is just go through a typical day in the life, and we'll kind of hit that at a high level. So, phone call comes into the company, and a lot of times with this commercial work, we're working with existing customers, and so I want to go ahead and look that customer up. Now, I can do that a number of different ways, but one great way to do that's with the customer name. Now, in the case of the our market segment that we service, a lot of the times what we find is we have this parent billing entity and then multiple different sites that we service underneath there. And that's sort of one of those big differentiators between a residential software and a commercial software is some of this hierarchy that we'll talk about. Now, right from the search bar, I could go ahead and create a job or create a quote, right? We talked about T&M work and turning that invoicing around faster. We talked about tracking our quotes and, making sure that those are getting followed up appropriately. And I think, Woody, one thing that our software lends itself to is ease of use. So by going no further than this, I can now kick off a T&M job or go ahead and kick off some quoted work.
It's the ease of use with this system is amazing to me. How quickly our dispatchers are able to be able to get our guys dispatched out to what they've got to get done, and on top of that, get the information over to the sales folks. It's amazing.
Yeah, beautiful. Craig's got a question about employee commissions, and Craig, we're going to talk a little bit about reporting, and when we hop in there, we'll talk about sales commissions, how to get that data. Obviously, whether that's from outgoing sales that are contracts that are closed, or if that is on the technician level for billable hours or margin on their jobs. There's a number. It's kind of an open-ended question. Short answer is yes. So I'll give you a short answer yes on that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail as we go through. So instead of taking the easy way out here, Woody, I'm going to actually kind of go through, a little bit of the scenic route, right? I could have gone right here, created a job, created a quote, but we'll be missing a lot of value that the software brings. So, number one is at the customer level, we're consolidating all the different properties and the different service agreements and the jobs that we've done and the invoicing, all at the customer level. But then there's a lot of detail at the property level or the site level as well. A lot of times that we're working on these sites, there's a door code or parking instructions or things like that that are particular to that site. We're able to store those into the software here under the property instructions. And then when I dispatch my technicians, they have those notes in front of them. And then we're going to keep talking about this theme a little bit of putting the information in front of the technicians so that they can do their job right the first time. One, sort of property instructions. How do I get in? Do I need to check in with somebody? Do I have to call in? Is there a sign-in sheet? Things like that. We'll go in the property instructions. And then number two, we've got attachments at the property level, and we want to make sure that those are available to the technicians out in the field as well. So if there's a rooftop map or something like that that we need, or if maybe this is, a large property and they need some sort of campus map to find their way around, right? Which parking lot am I supposed to park in here? Which entrance am I supposed to use? So whatever those attachments happen to be at that property level, really important for our guys out in the field. And then, coming all the way down to the individual pieces of equipment that we have on site, and being the information that we're going to be providing to the folks out in the field, is going to be things like the service history. So, technicians aren't calling the office and asking about the service history. If there's some sort of service manual or data sheet that they need, we can attach that to the piece of equipment. It's at their fingertips out in the field as well. Commonly used parts. Woody and I chatted about refrigeration and cutting over off of R22 a few weeks ago. And, so understanding, which equipments have which refrigerant, what type of belts, what size filters, that sort of stuff. And then, going into like warranty tracking as well to understand, is this thing under warranty? Has it expired? And how to sell that. And, Woody, I want to, from your experience, kind of at all levels of the mechanical industry, talk a little bit about, getting that information to the technicians out in the field, specifically, what did that look like back when you guys were, writing dinosaurs to service calls. Sorry, Woody and I are good friends, so I can get away with that one. But, but I mean, honestly, it wasn't that long ago that there wasn't smartphones, right? We're talking
Right.
15 years ago, there was no smartphone. So, we're not riding dinosaurs back then, but there were no smartphones. There was really no sort of cloud-based service management platform. Talk about a little bit about the differences between like what you had as a technician then versus what information is at your fingertips now.
Sure. So back then, we would usually put a lockbox on each job. And in each lockbox, we would hope that the previous mechanic that was there would leave a copy of his service report with all of the information on it. Now, that happened most of the time, but there were times when maybe it was an emergency call, he couldn't get access to the lockbox or something like that. So maybe there's a key piece of information that was left out that the mechanic didn't have access to. This way, we can see exactly what was done. We can actually see who actually made the call. We can call them up. We can follow up in an expeditious manner and take care of the client. And the other part of it too is if this is a callback, we can make sure that we're billing the customer properly. If we have just been out and worked on, say, an expansion valve on a specific piece of equipment, and now we're back again working on that same expansion valve, now maybe there's an issue. We don't know, but we want to make sure that our guys in the field have that information and they're able to send that information and get it back to the office in an expeditious manner. So between when I was working in the field and what's happening now is day and night. I mean, we just barely had beepers back then. And so now it's so much better, so much easier, so much user-friendly for the guys in the field, but also user-friendly for the client as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of times these technicians are calling the office and asking us these questions, but we also get the same type of questions from our customers. When's the last time you were out service this piece of equipment? When is the warranty going to expire? When is the maintenance coming due? When's the last time that you that you perform maintenance on it? Now, Anthony asked a question about, whether build ops is only for commercial or is it also for residential? And really the truth on that one, Anthony, is there's a lot of residential service softwares out there. There's a bunch of them. And what our founders found is that there wasn't a great option for the commercial contractor. Now, Anthony, to answer your question directly, we're typically working with commercial contractors. That's what our software is built around, and there's specific workflows on the commercial side that don't always translate over to the residential side just because of the flow of information. And then vice versa, things on the residential side don't necessarily translate to the commercial side. Now, I would be disingenuous to say that none of my customers do residential, because they do. So if the majority of your work is commercial, and also we sort of internally here at Build Ops define residential a little bit different. If you're doing large multifamily, sort of installations, that's a little bit closer to commercial work than it is than single family home, selling, Mrs. Smith a good, better, best package on her mini split. We're kind of usually, talking about larger projects, larger jobs, and more commercial workflow. And then, Woody, I don't know if you've got much experience sort of on that the difference between residential and commercial. But what I hear from my customers very often is, hey, we tried this residential software. It did not translate to our commercial business. And, maybe you could shine a little bit more light on the differences there.
Oh, absolutely. On the commercial side, there's so many different facets and nuances to taking care of a client properly. And I've worked for most of the contractors I've worked for. We did probably 99% of our work was commercial, but we had special clients that we did residential work with. And honestly, the systems that we have will transpose over simply to a small amount of residential stuff, but mostly commercial. It's the way you approach the client, access to the building, material that you're going to need, stock that you're going to have on hand, the knowledge of your technicians. All of that stuff is day and night.
Yep. And then, also, as you kind of pointed out, the equipment that you work on, right? And the volume. And because there's a volume of technicians and volume of equipment that might be working on a single, let's call it preventative maintenance agreement, our system does a great job of taking multiple technicians on multiple visits and being able to combine that all into sort of one job costing and or, invoicing step there. So, and We'll talk a little bit about that, but yeah, absolutely. Great point on that, Woody. We do got to be respectful of everybody's time, because Woody and I can go back and we go back and forth for hours sometimes together. So, I'll try to keep this thing moving along a little bit and hit on the major points within the BuildOps platform. We're going to handle your 4 major revenue streams. That's going to be your quoted service work, your T&M service work, and your preventative maintenance. Now, the fourth one on that really sets us apart from other software platforms out there is we also handle your project management for your ground up construction as well. So over here on your quoted work, whether this is going to end up being a large project or a smaller service quoted work, doesn't matter. It starts here in the quotes module, and being able to have an idea of what those statuses are, sort of bear with me as I scroll down here a little bit, is really helpful to provide useful feedback to my sales team. So, these quotes they're going to start as a draft. From there, we're going to email them off to the customer. And then obviously that status is going to update to sent to customer, and then throughout the other sort of steps in that process, we're going to be calling those out and surfacing those back up to the sales team. Now, whether we're talking about quotes or T&M tickets or invoicing, one of those recurring themes that you and I talked about a whole bunch was going to be on the reporting side, right? Being able to surface these metrics up. And, Woody, I had mentioned that, during our onboarding process, we come in and we build out whatever reports are needed. Now, the customers can do this on their own, but, when I'm working with somebody like yourself, Woody, I don't want to spend a lot of time training you on how to produce your own reports from scratch. What I'd rather do is take that time, get your requirements, and then put that into our system. And that's sort of the white glove approach that we have with our customers, because too often these other software companies are spending a lot of time training you to do something that you're only going to do once, like set up your account or build a report dashboard. Now, it's a lot, at least for me, Woody, and maybe for you too, it's a lot easier for me to come in and manipulate something that's already existing than it is to sort of build this thing from scratch and learn, this business analytics tool from scratch. So, our team really takes that white glove approach and, helps get the data that you need, visualize it in a way that makes sense based on the data, whether that's a line chart, a bar chart, a scorecard. A lot of our folks really like this one, which is like, understanding what our goals are. And so, Woody was talking a lot about, setting goals and then measuring against those goals. And some of the best way to look at that is just a gauge, right? Hey, this is where we want to be here in the green. Where are we today, and how much time do we have to get there? And this could be billable hours, it could be billable dollars, it could be, quotes approved, things like that. It could be, time to turn over closed jobs to invoices. All of that stuff we're able to report on, visualize it. But then, for the folks who want it in a table, we give it to you in a table view as well. Woody, what are some of your thoughts or some opinions on what we're offering here?
Well, the fact of the matter is, if I'm running a service company and I have the ability to develop that type of reporting on just about any KPI that I want, any focus that I want to have, that type of information is invaluable. And the fact that I can get it in a moment's notice is even more important, not just for me as a business owner, but also for my team.
Mhm.
My service supervisors, my service managers, my dispatchers, my sales team, everybody that can gain access to that, or at least go someplace and get that information. It's unbelievably critical to have that type of information, because let's face it, we go through life, if we don't have a way of measuring how we're doing, we go through life fat, dumb, and happy. And I'm a perfect example of being all of those three. But the fact of the matter is, if we know what we're trying to measure, and we're able to measure those things, and at the same time come to a critical analysis of how we're doing, it makes a world of difference, and it keeps everybody excited. It keeps everybody focused. It keeps everybody energized on the team, because now they go, oh man, we're doing great. Look at this. Wait, look over here. We got to do a little bit better. We're a little bit. What can we do to do better in this area? And it gives you the opportunity to look at this from a critical mind's eye, so that you're able to take action one way or another, whether you need to do something a little differently, or maybe it can let you rest easy knowing that everything's working fine.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, Woody. And it's, as a business owner, sometimes you got to make gut decisions, right? You got to go with what feels right, but you don't want to sort of make gut assumptions about metrics of your business, right? You need, this allows for transparency, and with this transparency, we can enforce accountability with that as well.
You can't make those decisions in a vacuum. You've got to have the data.
Exactly. Yeah, you definitely don't want to just be shooting from the hip on that sort of stuff. Anthony had another question about, tracking pending quotes. Yeah, absolutely. We're able to, produce reports of pending quotes that are aging, give those to your sales team via email, here's a report of, all your aging sales reports every morning at 7 a.m. so that they can follow up on those. Now, coming from the commercial space, it's really all about that relationship building. So, Anthony, to your question, no, I'm not going to send them automatic text messages that say, hey, your quote's pending. Thank you for choosing BuildOps. Your quote's pending. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is give the information to your team members so that they can follow up and foster those relationships. Because, Woody, as you well know, certainly, service sells agreements, but also it's the personal relationship a lot of times that at least get your foot in the door to be able to prove that, you have a competent team out there.
Absolutely. The more we can actually reach out and touch our clients and have interaction with them, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes folks, when they, are looking at BuildOps, they're assuming BuildOps is going to cut down on communication. And in the sense of, distributing information back and forth, yes, it basically automates all that, but we don't want it to replace that personal connection between a service manager and their technicians, the technicians with their customer, and, a business owner with his team. So, what we're doing here with a lot of this information is getting it to the appropriate people so that they can take the appropriate actions on it. Now, we talked a little bit about quoting. We talked a little bit about T&M work. Let's talk about probably the best thing that we can have in our back pocket during a recession, which is going to be our service agreements. Now, some companies have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of service agreements, and it is a small team's full-time job just to manage and schedule those, let alone perform the service itself. But historically, the management of those service agreements has been something that's just been way too manual. In BuildOps, what we're able to do, and I'm going to give the abbreviated sort of run through on this, but basically for every property, for whatever service agreement that you have, you're gonna call out what needs to be done and when does it need to be done. And then build ops is going to take that template and information and then go ahead and auto generate maintenance work orders that then your dispatcher can then go ahead and assign to the technicians out in the field. Now, I'd be doing everybody a pretty big disservice here today if I didn't just briefly bring up the mobile app, because we went to the our founder was a contractor, and as we were developing this mobile app, we used his team as sort of our guinea pigs. And we said, hey, we need all this different information from you guys. What's the best way to get it from you? And sort of jokingly, they said, you're going to have to force us. And we're like, challenge accepted. So what you see here is on the mobile app, I'm going to see a list of the jobs that I'm assigned to for the day. And when I open one of those jobs up, this first section is all informational, right? So this is things that we've given our technician back in the office. They can look up asset history. They can view past jobs. They can click on the address and navigate down there. And then, down below is the report that we need the technician to fill out. And let's say I got busy today and you know what? I just want to go ahead and close this job, right? I haven't done anything. I want to go ahead and just say this job has been finished. Yep, I completed the work, and it says, nope, gotcha. We can basically force the technicians to fill out the appropriate fields. And, Woody's the carrot and I'm kind of the stick, right? So, Woody, talk a little bit about, sort of the value of getting this information the first time and not having to roll trucks back out there.
Well, it's one of the things we all sort of, for lack of a better word, drum into our technicians that, hey, listen, you've got to fill out even if you're doing things by pen and paper, you've got to fill out the service reports completely. If you're working on a mobile app, you've got to fill out the screens completely. You've got to be able to make sure that all of the nomenclature there, and it's not just there, but it's right. What tends to happen is if that information is not taken care of, and if our mechanics are allowed to just, hey, it's done, bam, I'm moving on. This is what happens when they start to turn their time in, whatever day that is, whatever works for their company. All of a sudden, man, I was there 2 days ago. What the hell did I really do? Or shit, I don't remember the model number. I don't remember which piece of equipment did I work on. All of those kinds of things become a problem, and it's not just us rolling a truck out there now. If there was a piece of equipment that needed work on it, now we've got to get our salespeople involved, and they have to get out there. Our dispatchers have to get involved and reschedule time. So it becomes a big snowball effect one way or another if our guys don't finish this, fill out all of this equipment. And the fact that this forces the guys to get things done properly. It's a tremendous tool for everybody that's ever had anything to do with the service industry. That's for sure.
Yeah. I say force. Would he rather say motivate, right? And so either way, we're motivating the guys to get this information because I don't know what it is. I'm guilty of this, and you and I are allowed to talk this way because we've both been there before. We've both been guilty of doing this exact thing from time to time. And
yes,
you go home, you have a good night's sleep. You wake up the next morning, you have amnesia.
Absolutely.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone what RTU number I worked on yesterday.
Right.
And especially if you got a lot of calls. So, we're going to be motivating the folks and requiring that they give us that information back in the office, because that is what's going to allow us to turn those invoices over faster. That's what's going to allow us to provide a better level of customer service. It all sort of ties into that because your salespeople, or excuse me, I kind of gave away my next point. Your technicians, can very well be your salespeople out there on the job site. So not only, are we capturing or giving them a list of work that needs to be completed through that mobile app, we're also empowering them to surface back recommendations for work that needs to be completed, based on their inspection. So, we talked a little bit about quoting, but, and again, not enough time to dive into this in detail, but the folks can also surface that information back up to us in the field. Now, the last thing I'll touch on before we wrap this up for today is another one of those big differentiators between sort of us and other service softwares out there is we're not just service software. I don't want to say every, but the majority of, let's say, mechanical service contractors also have an arm, whether it's in the service department and called special projects, or whether it's a whole nother department that's called, project management or construction, something along those lines. Almost every contractor has some level of both. Some folks, it's way higher on the service side. Other folks, it's more project heavy. But in either event, this is one company. This is one team. We don't want them to be in two separate softwares. And so, again, another one of those big value adds, build ops, versus other folks out there is we're going to incorporate the project management with the service management so that both of those teams can thrive in a collaborative environment. And then also us as executives can have metrics from both departments without needing to go and grab it from separate places. Woody, I'll kind of leave it to you for some last remarks here, and we'll go ahead and get it wrapped up.
Back in the old days, when we were first talking to different, operational systems folks, sort of the holy grail was the ability to be able to, in the same piece of software, do all of the things we needed for service, and also be able to do small projects. And honestly, I don't know too many other service operational system providers out there other than BuildOps that actually does this in a unique, clean, concise way. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as closing this all out, ladies and gentlemen, number one, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate you spending some time with us. But number two, also, don't sit back and wait for this economic downturn to happen. Make sure that you're prepared for that one way or another. Take a proactive approach to it. Make sure that all of the things that you're trying to get done are done in an expeditious manner, and create that team atmosphere that will help you get through any sort of economic downturn and be successful on the other end.